Name, please.
Simone Eval.
In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products?
Well, I made a horror movie, and then my horror movie included knives and swords, which in a horror movie you normally see people with knives like attacking normally the men attacking young girls and stuff. And then with that is I challenged it because you don't actually see the death at the start of the horror movie. So even though by the scream you can tell it's a young girl, which is again is following the codes and conventions of a horror movie, because normally the girl is attacked by a man. So, and then also the scenes that I filmed, except for the first shot, which was of the front door, was quite dark and stuff. And so in the shot of where you pan around the room, there's a shot of some Teletubbies, which in my opinion I included because it was quite good, as they could be used to lure children into the house, like false sense of security, stuff like that. And then with the credits, it's a black background with red writing, so the red could symbolise the blood of all the victims that the man's killed and things like that. And then there are also references in a kind of a way to Red Dragon, because the credits were red on a black background but with the white bit, so it kind of works but doesn't work at the same time. And then I used the sound, which is quite, it's like rock music sort of thing, but all you hear is like the guitar, so it's quite loud yet not, so it gives like a sense of eeriness too. And then I use the heartbeat sound, which could be like the heartbeat of the victims and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. How does your media product represent particular social groups?
Well, if linking in with the first one, it follows typical codes and conventions, because as I said in the first bit, since you don't actually see anything, but the scream that you hear is from a woman, so it kind of portrays them as weak and vulnerable and things like that, and then they can't really defend themselves, because to be fair, if a man's coming at you with a knife, a woman really won't be able to defend herself really, because she does get bludgeoned to death. So, and since there's swords in the house as well, I don't think she could protect herself very easily, and that's about it. And then the assumption that the killer is a man, which again portrays them as powerful and in control, and that basically dominative, and whereas the women are subservient towards them.
Very good. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why?
Well, I chose the company Twisted Pictures, which are quite popular as they produced all the Saw movies as well, and I think that's quite common as well. And then the Saw movies also, like, that's where I took my inspiration from some of the Saw movies. So I think that since they were effective in distributing them and producing them, I thought that would be a good thing, as they could effectively produce in my film.
Okay. Who would be the audience for your media products?
Well, when it comes to age, I think it's about 18 plus, because that's what I gave my film rating. But even though the opening, it would attract some teenagers, even so that they would want to see it, but they wouldn't be able to see it, because even though my opening isn't effectively gory and things like that, the content of further into the movie, there will be quite explicit blood and gore and like generally not nice things for young children to see. And then with the class and social grade, I put that as C2 to E, because it's quite of a working class and students will be attracted, and since they fit into group E, I think that'll attract them more. And then ethnicity doesn't really apply unless you don't really like blood and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. How did you address your audience?
Well, the slogan that I put on the film, it doesn't really show up because I kind of forgot to put it in my credits basically. But it's kind of, the slogan is "Get ready, it's coming." So that kind of has a sexual connotation because of the rape that's in my movie, so it kind of links into that as well. But also the fact that the women have to get ready because the killer's on the loose, so they have to get ready, prepare themselves basically. And then the unknown screams and things like that, it links in with the fear of the unknown, that my opening provokes questions, so that hopefully the audience will want to watch the rest of the movie to find out where the screams are coming from, where, like, what the knives are for, what the swords are for, and what kind of, like, what's in the room behind the closed doors, stuff like that.
Okay. What have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product?
Well, when it came to my preliminary task, I didn't use the film that much, whereas now I had to film quite a lot. So I found out how to use the camera more, how to set up shots, use the tripod effectively, and not make my shots still rather than unbalanced. And then when it came to editing it, I learned a lot with Final Cut Pro, because that's the first time I've ever used the application before. So I learned how to put my credits in, like how to get rid of the wireframe, like how to add it in again when I wanted to move stuff. And then also, it was kind of a bad thing because I kept asking Roger the technician loads of questions, which in my opinion, it was good. However, when I was shown how to do it, I felt as if I should have been able to do it myself if I would have tried a little bit harder. So since he was there, I kind of found it a bit too easy. But yeah. And when it came to Blogspot, since I already blog at home myself on a different site, I felt I was quite comfortable and familiar with it.
Good. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you've learnt in the progression from it to the full product?
I feel as if I've progressed quite a lot because I learned how to keep shots steady, I learned how to use a camera, and then before my group, they did most of the work, whereas I didn't do anything, whereas now the kind of role was a bit reversed when it comes to me and my other group member who shall not be mentioned, because I feel as if I've done quite a lot of the work, whereas he hasn't. So it says that you shouldn't really rely on anyone, because at the end of the day, you should only rely on yourself, because if things don't happen, then you've got to do it all, basically. And I also learned that with the camera, you can't keep breaking and stopping, then looking back and stopping, because we did that with my little prelim task, and it kind of worked okay because we were flowing on after. But when you have to edit it, it causes a real problem. And that's it.
Okay.